Bobby, what is going on, my man? How you doing?
Matt, I'm doing well. Doing very well. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic, yeah. It's almost the weekend, end of Wednesday. Only got Thursday and Friday left. Then get to
Yeah, man.
relax,
This
hang
week's
out.
flying.
This week is flying, and it's getting way too hot out. I just can't wait for the fall to come around finally.
No, 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 no. Take it all year long. I like the hot. It's gonna be friggin' freezing. I'm gonna be icing off my car before I get in driving to work.
All right, well,
No,
I'm not
thank
looking
you.
forward to that,
No, thank you.
but I am looking forward to the sweatshirts and the
Little hoodie weather.
shorts. A little
Little
bit
hoodie
of
weather. It will be nice. Yeah.
So, welcome to the podcast. This is the Ombudsman Report, the OR podcast, as we like to call it. We do this like once a week. We talk about news, politics, culture, and a lot of news and culture stuff here today. Some pretty
Yeah.
big news happened, especially if you're tuned into the Twitterverse and the mediaverse like we are, and we assume you are if you're watching this or listening. Of course, you can always subscribe on iTunes or Google Play, and make sure to give us a subscribe over on YouTube. First, Bob, what do you think about Alex Jones? I know that's a loaded question, but just give me,
That's a pretty low
couple
question.
couple inches deep.
I think we started last podcast with a little rant from Alex Jones.
We did. Who would
I
have
mean,
known?
he provides some very comical sound bites, some funny videos of him taking his shirt off, trying to sell you pills, and talk about
Right.
gay frogs and intergalactic child molesters and
Lizard people and
lizard people and
PETA rings underneath pizza
but with all that
places.
said, he's been right on a few things before. I mean, it's about 98% wrong or 98% made up and hysterical, but should he be allowed to contribute to the conversation, even if what he contributes I mostly deem to be, not helpful? I think so. And I don't think he's allowed to contribute anymore, basically, if you ask Facebook, Spotify, Google, and Apple, I believe, is the last one.
Yeah, I think we need to sort of deconstruct this into a few different parts because
Yeah, give me the breakdown.
there's the Alex Jones question, which pertains to him as a person.
Sure.
There's the social media question, which pertains to monopolies and the distribution of information, and who's
Right.
allowed to be a participant in that. Now, that is the public square, right? I mean, that is the new cafe. It is. I mean, that's where these conversations are all happening. I would say
mean-
as much stupid stuff there is, you and I are benefactors of. I've been in just. I would say, and I don't know if there's a sad thing. I think it's a great thing, though. Joe Rogan's podcast has introduced me to so many ideas and interests that I never would have pursued or found otherwise.
Right.
I think I
sort
can
of
say
use
that.
that to find many things.
And it's
I
not.
find other podcasts from him, other things I
Yeah.
want to look up on my own.
I mean, from Joe
yeah.
Rogan. I mean, I find Daniele Bolelli and Dan Carlin, who just give the best history podcast ever.
I found Dave Smith part of the problem. Got my libertarian on.
Sure, and even lefties. He's had Kyle Klasinski on. He's had Sam Harris on, and so it's a wide array. But social media and definitely podcasts are the way information's being distributed. And then there's also the government aspect, which is a little bit scarier. And I was a little disappointed, to be honest, seeing some people sort of reach right for the pen for legislation.
Right, as they always do.
As they always do. But so I think Alex Jones.
So hold on, let's break this down a bit
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure.
Alex Jones, if you're unaware or if you just want to hear it clarified, was essentially banned permanently now from Facebook, from Spotify, which is where all of InfoWars' podcasts and his own show were archived,
As well as Apple.
as well as Apple and the iTunes Store.
Mhm.
Facebook, Apple, and Spotify. There was one other.
I thought you just said it. YouTube.
YouTube as well. He's now off of YouTube.
Mhm.
So they did this because he is considered a conspiracy theorist, which is not an incorrect term. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just, I mean, maybe you thought we were making jokes, but no, he has gotten on the air and said that the government is turning frogs gay, that there are lizard people, that there are literally intergalactic child molesters. He might have been drunk when he said that, but that I mean,
those are some of his hyperbolic statements. He has statements where it is just chemtrails, 9/11 conspiracies, crisis actor conspiracies for these shootings.
Sure.
I think the
ones
most
that really get him in trouble are Sandy Hook. He said for a while. I think he has taken that back, but he said for a while that was a crisis actors, that it was a false flag to steal your guns, which is, if you don't remember, I don't know how many, but more than 10 young below third grade students were shot and killed in Sandy Hook Elementary School. So he goes off the rails. InfoWars.
Well, can I stop you right there? Can I just make a comment? Because I think people who aren't aware, what he did essentially was, by calling these parents crisis actors, either intentionally or unintentionally. I mean, if you think these people are crisis actors, then I would say it's intentionally. Start a mass harassment campaign against parents who just put their kids 6 feet underground. I mean, that is the reality when you say these people are coming to take your guns, when the reality on the ground is these are parents grieving that they just lost a 7-year-old, and they're getting calls in the middle of the night saying they're going to kill you, and people driving by their house and taking pictures. I mean, the absolute hell that he must have put those people through before they could even get over the nightmare that I'm sure they all wish they could wake up from, which is losing their kid. So a lot of them have sued him, rightly so, and I do hope they take every penny that's worth taking from him for that type of damage. This is what makes this free speech case so important and so puzzling, because I never ever want to stand up and pretend like I'm defending the abhorrent views of Alex Jones, but there is this weird precedent being set by social media companies, and there are some interesting arguments as to whether or not I almost feel ridiculous saying this, but for some reason it just comes to my mind. We've talked about how people like, not necessarily you and I, but Ben Shapiro, for example, will be labeled a Nazi.
Right. 5'4" Jew.
There is a slippery slope thing here, which, if they're just throwing out names, and the rule is now we must ban every conspiracy theorist from social networks. Is that something that I should support? I don't think so.
Not at all. Because I think I said this just a minute ago. Even if he's wrong 99% of the time, why are we to deem that this conspiracy theorist who says outrageous shit and causes a lot of harm, no doubt, doesn't have anything of value to say? I'm not comfortable with anyone making that opinion. That's why I believe in free speech. You should be able to say whatever you want. Now, I think where it gets tricky is that, he's saying whatever he wants, and, he's not really in any legal trouble, except for some of these families that are suing him for, they have legal ground to, I assume, for libel or whatever the case may be. And that's all fine and good. He can still continue to say what he wants. But now his platform where he does say these things is stripped from the larger platforms. If he's off of Facebook, he's off of YouTube, and not just, no more content can be added. Like, they pulled his former content.
Yeah.
So now even all of the past conversations that he's had, and call him a conspiracy theorist, and he is, but he's had politicians on InfoWars. He's had liberals, he's had Republicans, he's had writers on there. All of those conversations are now gone. They're pulled down. They're gone, as if they never happened.
Sure, and
I don't like that. I mean, what's the difference between that and burning books?
No, you're right, and I also don't like the idea. I like to think if I'm trying to have principles, what we've shared on this show is judge someone by the summation of their work, not just the one snippet.
Sure.
Not by a sentence. And in Alex Jones, in that case, his sentence is pretty bad, right? I mean, doing some things he said is definitely not good, but
even the summation of his work, you could say, is bad.
Even the summation of his work is bad, but I mean, you have a point. I mean, in Alex Jones' defense, if there's going to be a defense of him, he did oppose all the wars. He is very much anti-corruption, and so for that, sure. I mean, I can say he's good on that. I don't think because once you get banned, essentially getting banned from social media, and he's not banned from Twitter, right? So I don't know.
No, he's still on Twitter.
Paul Joseph Watson. They're like, it's funny. Like the Alex Jones Twitter account will tweet, "Alex Jones banned from internet," and it's like you're on the internet right now. What are you talking about? So you're not banned from the internet,
right?
But I saw Paul Joseph Watson. He's considers himself libertarian, whatever. He was suggesting that Trump needs to pass an amendment, an executive order, to
regulate the internet or whatever.
To basically regulate what social media publishers can or cannot have on their platform or discriminate against on their platform. To which I say that is not libertarian at all.
No, not at all.
Getting the government involved in this is exactly so. This isn't a free speech thing in the sense that no one's putting Alex Jones in jail for saying these things. We're sort of just socially ostracizing him, and now these social media companies, which are monopolies. I mean, I know in theory it's an idea. Like I understand the concept of Facebook took over MySpace. That was such a different time, where Facebook is Facebook's here to stay. Everyone has a Facebook, and the reason it's going to stay is because of the power of the advertising on it. I mean, Facebook advertising is probably the most unique and probably the most advanced advertising piece of technology in the world. I mean, Facebook, they let you go down to such specifics. I mean, I'm doing a little bit of marketing in my own company, working with a mailer, which is the old way people used to have to do it, right? But Facebook, you can go on there and you can target, if me and you wanted to promote a podcast, for example, we could go on there and say, okay, we want men and women who are into politics, specifically conservative, libertarian beliefs, and they also like culture shows, ages 16 to 25, and we want them on the East Coast of the United States. I mean, that's a powerful... And then Facebook tells you exactly who saw your ad, and then you can direct message those people to even further pinpoint. So
I understand the power of it, but I don't buy... I saw someone that they were like, Facebook and Google are the modern day equivalents of like U.S. Steel in 1870. I don't buy it. I don't think... I mean, personally, I've already deleted my Facebook. I kind of think of them the same way I view like the news and cable news.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't really think that any of these companies are going to be, like you said, monopolies forever. And people are like, oh yeah, like go just start your own Facebook. Like no, that's very unlikely, but it's not impossible to the point where I would want government to step in and regulate Facebook. Like for every time that Facebook does this, and every time that YouTube demonetizes a conservative and takes someone off the air, they're pushing away people that would have wanted that content. And eventually, hopefully, the market will respond to that, and you'll get other alternatives. Like first there was eHarmony, right? And now there's a million dating sites based on preference. There's a Christian dating site, there's a Muslim dating site, there's a black-only dating site. There's
farmersonly.com.
Exactly, dude. And then it boils all the way down lower. You get your Twitter and your Bumble, and first it was Tinder, and now it's Bumble, and then you get Grindr for whatever your preference is.
You have a Grindr account, Bob?
I don't have a Grindr account. I'm making a point here, but I'm sure when eHarmony came out, people were like, wow, that's the dating site. Like Facebook is the site. Like, I don't think that it's impossible to get around. And I think the companies are hurting themselves the way that they're conducting their business and opening themselves up to more opportunities for people to switch. I think in 10 years, there's going to be 5 different Facebooks, and it's going to be a conservative Facebook. And people are just going to just drill into what they want.
I was going to say, though,
where they're going to put people in bubbles. But
that was going to be my next point, to sort of like follow that up. Is that a good thing? So sure, there will be no more anonymous.
I don't think you can judge it, and I don't think it's in anyone's position to control it. I certainly don't want the government controlling it. Can we agree on that? I don't want any intrusion whatsoever. Because the problem is, not only are the people in government dumb, but they're dangerous and they're
Sure.
dumb, and that's the worst combination. Like, here's this tweet from Chris Murphy. InfoWars is the tip of a giant iceberg of hate and lies that uses sites like Facebook and YouTube to tear our nation apart. Okay, you could have replaced CNN with InfoWars, and it would have sounded like it's coming out of Trump's Twitter, right?
I mean, really?
These companies must do more than take down one website. The survival of our democracy depends upon. If you think the survival of our democracy depends on taking InfoWars off the internet, and you're a senator, this guy wants to write law. That's what he thinks. He honestly, does he believe that, or is he just stirring fear? Probably just stirring fear. But even if he does believe it, I mean, that's more dangerous, and him trying to get involved and legislate something than anything Alex Jones can say to however large of a platform that he has.
Well, it's also this twisted mode of thinking where Alex Jones, because this sort of goes to that last point of breaking ourselves up into different bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
Social media at this point in time, you can curate what content you see.
100%.
And if you don't want to really, I mean, this happens to me all the time. Do you ever just see a random tweet that was retweeted and you click on the person and they have 10 million followers and you have no idea who the hell they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. And so there's obviously ways to, segregate ourselves like that. And in the social media age, because that Chris Murphy tweet comes from a place of, this information is dangerous for others to think.
Who is he to decide that?
Exactly. Which is my point, which is no one should be able to decide for anyone else what they can hear, what they can think. That goes back to John Stuart Mill. Even if you disagree with ideas, you sacrifice a chance to better refine your ideas, right? It's when you censor people's speech, you're not just, infringing upon their right to speak, you're infringing upon the people's right to listen. And that's what free speech is all about, right? You're able to reach information, you're able to hear all this different type of conflicting information and make a decision for yourself. And so that line of thinking of Chris Murphy, I think, is really dangerous. I also think, and we can make a judgment on it, even if we don't know if it's a thing. We're just kind of talking and spitballing here.
Sure.
But if there was something like a liberal Facebook and a conservative Facebook, people already live in bubbles, and I don't know that, if the goal is to be the United States of America, one nation, and we actually care about each other, as as crazy as that seems sometimes.
Right.
How do you get there by segregating yourself? You saw Mila Kunis on, was it Mark Maron's podcast, where she openly admits, she goes, I live in a bubble. I had never even heard someone argue the pro-life position before. Wow. And she's a rich Hollywood, superstar, obviously, but I don't see how more segregation of opinions gets us to a better place. Because if you think Trump is a Nazi now, well, you can watch Fox News. Imagine just being blindsided by a Democratic candidate that you've never heard of that has these socialist ideas. You're like, where the hell did they come from? Well, you should have been logged on into liberal Facebook.
Well, okay, I don't think I disagree with you that the more segregating of ourselves via social media is a bad thing. I think it is a bad thing. I also think it's inevitable, and
which is kind of the bad part. The sad part. I do think it's inevitable.
It's inevitable, and I think it's already happened. I think it already is happening. I mean,
sure.
CNN and Fox, from the hours of 6 to midnight, couldn't be more different universes.
This is almost, that's the old age media version.
On Maddow at the same time, you're watching two different worlds.
Right.
And if you never plug into one and only plug into the other, your reality of what things are occurring are entirely different than someone who watches the other show.
Yeah.
So we're already bubbling ourselves. I think it's inevitable.
I don't think we should encourage that. But it's almost like, in defense of...
I don't think it's worth trying to slow down or worth trying to stop. Because like I said, the only way you can really do that would be the government, and that would be worse than the self-segregation.
Well, it's almost like, in defense of conservatives are almost being forced, some of them, out. Right? I mean, like, it's inching closer and closer of what's the acceptable views, what aren't the acceptable views. I mean,
Well, this is what it is, Matt. I mean, if we want to get a little Alex Jonesy here, get a little conspiratorial,
why
you
not?
know,
It's an Alex Jones
why
themed
not?
episode.
Why not? Okay, so I mean, I think it's pretty undeniable at this point that these social media companies have a left-leaning bias. You really can't even debate that with a straight face. It's
Yeah.
been proven.
Yeah, Mark
Okay?
Zuckerberg, whatever.
When's the first time that a liberal on Twitter was banned for 12 hours by accident, like happens to conservatives and firebrand conservatives in particular all the time? Okay, so the bias is there. It's on YouTube. Dave Rubin tweets a video every day that he's like, oh, this got demonetized and that got demonetized.
Well,
So the bias is there.
Well, YouTube. Have you ever heard Joe Rogan talk about? He was speaking with an executive from YouTube, and said, my friend Sam Harris and Douglas Murray, their video got demonetized, and a YouTube executive who had never even watched it was like, "Oh well, it's hate speech. That's it. I don't have to listen to it. I just know.
Don't even have to watch it.
I saw Douglas Murray's name. I saw Sam Harris's name. They talked about Islam. Hate speech. Sorry."
Exactly. So, I mean, these companies have a left-leaning bias. That's been proven. And now Alex Jones is deemed unacceptable on these platforms. Boom, gone.
He's
Archived,
like an
gone.
unperson.
He might as well not even exist. Like Milo
Really?
used to be a big thing.
I
And
don't
once
see
he,
Milo.
Once he got kicked off Twitter, he's dead to me. He's gone because he doesn't appear anywhere else.
Yeah,
So,
I don't
so
see
they
him.
have full control over who sees these things, which it's their platform. They have the right to do that.
They
Like I
built
said, I
it.
hope-
Yeah, they built
they
it.
built it. They have their own policies. They can kick people off if they want. They're just opening the door to competitors. But they obviously have this left-leaning bias, and I think this Alex Jones thing is, like I said, to get conspiratorial. It very well could be the beginning of, just the closing of the Overton window. Oh, if you believe in Alex Jones, then you're undermining our democracy, as Chris Murphy tells us. You're a threat to our democracy, Alex Jones is. Well, okay, Alex Jones, this all calms down. We move on to new topics. Trump's going to tweet something out. But in a month or 2 months or 3 months from now, someone a little more close to center than Alex Jones is going to get the axe. And then someone a little closer. And meanwhile, they're just shifting that window of what's acceptable and what they're allowing on their platform closer and closer and closer to what they believe. Is that unfair to say?
At this point in time, it's certainly possible.
It's very possible.
I don't know what recourse conservatives have.
That's what I'm
Really?
saying. On one hand, I could very well see them doing that. Just inching closer, banning people from far right and moving their way in, closing the window of acceptable discussion. Because, you can't think that Alex Jones might even have something reasonable to say and might be a total quack, but should still be allowed to have his platform and talk. That's not allowed anymore. But Sarah Jeong, a terrible racist, can be put on the New York Times editorial board, and we all have to deal with that. So, I mean, they're already shifting. They're hiding the ball. They're changing. They're moving the goalpost. I could see them continuing to do that, but like we've just said, what can you do about it? They have the right to. It's their platform, in my opinion. I don't want the government intruding in any of these matters. So,
Yeah.
it's almost like you got to just sit there and take it or start your own Facebook. I think this is just going to lead to the further segregation of everybody. People are just going to get more dialed into InfoWars, Fox News, the right, and people are going to get more dialed into CNN and Vox. And, you're going to end up in two different Americas.
Well, it's a double-edged sword banning Alex Jones from those platforms, because if you saw, when you silence someone, which is so often the case,
They get louder.
Alex Jones's app is number one seller on iTunes, and number one seller on the Android. I mean, they have amplified his voice to a certain degree as now being the voice of. He's now the canary in the coal mine to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they did that to themselves. They're amplifying his voice. It's
I mean, they're doing a lot of things to themselves. Like every rag piece that comes out of the New York Times that just is clearly incorrect, that you and I share back and forth and we talk about on this podcast. Every time they call Ben Shapiro alt-right, all they're doing is kneecapping themselves. They're giving other media companies an opportunity to rise up, and they're making people split from the New York Times and distrust everything they say. But what they are doing is hardening the beliefs of the people who do read them and who believe that. So, I mean, these companies, I think, are polarizing themselves in a way. They have to know that by kicking him off their platforms, they're going to boost him for a time. They're willing to do that to kick him off permanently.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe this is a good time to segue into the media being the enemy of the people.
They are. Fully agree with you on that point.
You know,
you should keep saying it.
The media being the enemy of the people has been one of the rallying cries of the base of conservatives in these states. It really has. And I didn't know this really, but people have been sharing a debate by Newt Gingrich.
From 2012, dude. That launched him in
2012. That launched him. Yeah, because Republicans, Republican base in specific, you know, the conservatives, they have felt for a long time that the media was not giving them a fair shake.
Because they're not.
Because they're not, right. Because they're all in New York, or they're all in now Silicon Valley. They're the ones that are, you know.
I mean, I think location is less important than ideology.
Sorry, I meant New York values, right?
Yeah, right.
He's got New York values. But it is like that. Well, it's just a split. David French had an interesting piece in the National Review. It was like the white culture divide. And it was sort of, you know, commenting on the Serge Young thing where all white people get lumped together when white Republicans and white Democrats could not be further. They might as well be a different race of people. They might as well be different species. You know what I mean? Like, they agree on nothing when it looks at gun rights, small government versus big government, everything.
Social principles, I mean, anything.
Yeah, exact family values. I mean, one of the biggest dividers was, I think 32% of Democrats have faith or consider themselves Christian, while it's like 87% of Republicans or something. You know, that's such a big cultural... That is...
Damn. I mean, that in itself.
I mean, religion is one of the biggest cultural identifiers in any group of people, obviously. You know, it's like sacred held beliefs, but... And it was just funny how he was commenting, like, you're playing that stupid game where not all white people are a monolith, dude. Not all black people are a monolith. Not all Latino people are a monolith right there. Mm-hmm. They're not all the same. There's a lot of variances in the group. So why don't we stop with the racist shit and stop generalizing entire groups?
Right.
I'm good with that. Especially by skin color. Especially by something so stupid and literally skin deep.
Well, I mean, this is why people hate the media, because they'll say that one day, and then if you know, opportunities change or stories change, the next day they'll defend Sarah Jeong calling, you know, all white. I mean, what were her tweets? I love picking
cancel
on
all white men. Yeah, cancel all men.
All white people. Like,
tweets spanning back to like 2012.
So they'll hit Trump for saying LeBron's stupid and say racist, but then they'll say no. This Asian woman who called for the canceling of all white people is not racist.
How dumb was that, by the way? People calling Trump racist because he doesn't like Don Lemon. Trump calls everyone dumb. That is his thing. Where have you been for the past 20 years? The guy's been calling people dumb since the 90s.
Like, I mean, there's ample things that are pretty valid that you could go toward. I don't know why people just cling for the most recent thing. Calling him stupid. I love how he says, like, you know, him and LeBron are stupid. I like Mike. Mike's black too, dude, you know?
Yeah, I also hate why has he got to attack LeBron? And why do conservatives got to attack LeBron? You know, I mean, the dude is opening a charter school for underprivileged kids, but he said something mean about daddy, so we got to stick to daddy's side, right?
No, it's pathetic. I mean, the MAGA crowd that's tweeting at LeBron, disgusting. Trump doing that is disgusting. You know, just come on, man, focus.
I know,
a little bit of focus.
I know. Do you understand? LeBron is has a lot more sway with people.
Look,
you know, like don't attack him.
This was just another football kneeling issue, but you're going after the wrong guy. Like, you're going after, by all accounts, a very wholesome person. He's got a family. You know, he's never been in trouble with the law, donating millions of dollars to a school.
All the time, dude. He always does that cool stuff. Yeah. I'm a big LeBron fan. But yeah, I just thought that was so stupid. The Sarah Jeong thing. To get back to it though, because it's funny how within the Alex Jones thing, we sort of got them. The pieces that were coming out this week were all logic pretzels, where you can't be racist, but because Sarah Jeong is an Asian woman, technically on the power structure, she's down low, and it's like -2 points for being Asian, but then how many points do you get added for going to Harvard? And then how many points get added for working at the Ivory Tower, which is the New York Times? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, I wish we had, like some sort of database, some score chart where I could like go, okay, Asian, good education, okay, because this is getting frankly ridiculous. Because to suggest that Sarah Jeong, who is an Asian woman, okay, who, by the way, Asians are the #1 income earning group in the United States. Okay.
Right.
Sarah Jeong, Asian American woman, Harvard educated, okay, went to the greatest university in the world, basically, right? And then she gets to work at, not around the Ivory Tower, she works in the Ivory Tower. She's making editorial decisions. This isn't an op-ed piece. This isn't an op-ed position where it's Barry Weiss just gets, she gets a column a week or something. No, she gets to decide the tone and the direction the newspaper goes. Mm-hmm. That is a very serious position. And for someone to have such disgusting tweets like hers, and then to suggest that she's oppressed. She's oppressed. What? Come on. The New York Times is like the oldest, most historic newspaper. People live and die by the New York Times. They have for decades. And this woman is going to be deciding, what positions the paper takes, and all of a sudden she's still oppressed? Then what do you want? What do you want? Because I always thought America was you work hard and you can get someplace, which Sarah Jeong obviously had. Right? She worked hard. She'd gone to Harvard, which if you're Asian isn't easy because they discount the points against you. Right? Remember we read that. So she did that. She works for The Verge. She worked really hard, and then she finally gets the New York Times editorial board position. Still oppressed. Still not good enough. Still not good enough. So
yeah, she's still getting held down. Even
what is... And also, it also goes to say, what kind of America are these people trying to build? These people are they don't want to get past racism. This is so crazy. I thought about it. They don't want to get past it because they're just using it as a club. Because if they wanted to get past it, they would say, look at all these great achievements of these people. I mean, clearly, if you work hard and you put the time in, and you can achieve great things in this country. But they say no, impossible. She's the outlier. Sarah Jeong, never happened. No, it doesn't matter. You kidding me? She's oppressed. Did you see the trolls that are tweeting her? Give me a fucking break.
I mean, exactly. Give me a break. It's clear as day. The bias, the constant spinning, the lies, just the plain up, just thinking you're not smart enough to see through it, that the media does on a daily basis on all of these different issues, that has led the Republicans to just totally disregard it, which, I mean, we talked about further polarizing people. That's further polarizing people. And now
this race shit is so disgusting and so antithetical to what America is supposed to be about, man. It really is disheartening to where every single conversation has to be, well, what race were they? How about,
it's got to be framed through race.
How about, who fucking cares what race are they? What are the ideas? What are they saying? Can we judge people on their merit?
Ideas can get you kicked off platforms now.
I know.
That's the point. They don't want them to talk about your ideas. They want white people to sit down. They want people with ideas that they don't believe in to sit down and
get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way, or we'll get you out of the way.
Or we'll legislate it into law eventually. That's the point.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ezra Klein,
and it's not just a race thing. It. I mean, obviously the race issues are the most disgusting ones, but the media does this on every issue, Matt. They do it on every issue. Trump's a Russian pawn. Just today, 4 hours ago, more sanctions on Russia for killing that former spy in the UK with a nerve agent about a month ago. More sanctions. He tweets, "I'm the hardest president on Russia," and he's got a lot of things to back that up. In recent memory, much harder than Obama was, where the supposed hacking of the election took place under. Okay? But no, they'll tell you he's a puppet. He's a puppet, don't you know? People will tweet headlines of Obama or a couple years ago, economy growing at 2.2%. We're on a surge, and the date's like 2012. And then you see 2018, 4.1%. Could a looming collapse be ahead? You know, the bias is just obvious, no matter what the issue is. You're getting fed a story that isn't how it actually is. It's how they want you to see it. And people see through that now.
They do. And on the Ezra
I
Klein,
think because of the polarizing of the media, because they have a different place to go than the straight source.
Because they're fake news.
Because they're fake news. They are the enemy of the people.
But I think that Ezra Klein piece, which he penned.
Yeah, let's move to that.
Well, I mean, I don't even think we need to really go. I just wanted to make the point that, you know, in that piece, he said that the alt-right is attacking Sarah Jeong and weaponizing her tweets as if the only people who would be against someone saying cancel all white people is the alt-right.
Right.
And that's just again, that's the fucking beta progressive mindset of Ezra Klein. I guess he's got a lot of nice sweaters. I guess he's got something going for him. But I really was amazed at that. I was like, dude, you don't get it at all. You're not even beginning to scratch the surface of what's going on.
He doesn't get it at all.
They're just living in that orthodoxy.
Everyone, that he's living in his own bubble. I mean, and it's not just him, dude. You see it. I mean, Max Boot. God, that guy just needs to stop talking for like a couple days.
I mean, he's a national security threat to the United States. Max Boot is a fucking traitor. How about that? I can't wait for that to come up. For this video to resurface one day. Max Boot is a traitor. Max Boot laid the intellectual groundwork for us to kill 1 million of brown people in Iraq. So, and I won't apologize for that. Fuck him. Him and Jonah Goldberg. Not as bad for Jonah. I like his dog pictures. But, you know, it gets to these we're getting into conspiracies now. Did you see Alyssa Milano tweet? You know, because there was that special election in Ohio yesterday, 2 days ago. And who won it? Balderson? Or no,
yesterday,
O'Connor? Balderson versus O'Connor.
Balderson. Well, there was multiple, but I mean, it was a primary for a bunch of people, but Balderson was running. I don't know who the Democrat he was running against. Trump-backed Troy Balderson, Ohio, District 12, and I mean, they didn't call it yet, but he definitely won. I just saw
close,
him on TV
right?
earlier today. He was up by like 1,500 votes, like 0.9%.
Well, apparently
he's gonna win.
There was like 3% of votes. 3% of votes or something like that. Don't call me that. Which is interesting.
I think it's great.
They went to the Green Party. Alyssa Milano tweeted that we need to look into these elections to make sure that Russia didn't meddle in this election because who's voting for the Green Party? To which Donald Trump Jr. replied, so you agree with voting ID laws? Great. Can't wait to talk to you.
Dude, there's just such a lack of self-reflection. I mean, across both parties, because it's just point at the other and blame and deflect and, you know, cognitive dissonance of what you believe. But it's stronger on the left. Hillary Clinton blames Russia, blames everyone but herself for the loss. They basically still can't get over that. Now we have a 24-month charade about Russia collusion. Okay, they lose in Ohio and percent goes to the Green Party, and suddenly the Russians are back again hacking.
Well, it's also it goes to the lack of introspection, I think, because they don't want to take the time, and they never did this post-mortem, or if they did, they decided to run the other way with the identity politics, which you and I don't like. But instead of running towards the center and trying to win back the center that doesn't like Trump, right, and just being like, okay, we're the Democratic Party, we agree in these like corporate ideas, you know, like we like Medicare or we like unions, Social Security, whatever. Okay,
right.
And instead of that, you know, this idea of because the Green Party, what they think of the Green Party voters is either they're Russian meddling, if you're Alyssa Milano, but they can't wrap their head around that people don't like the Democrats because they don't like what the Democrats believe in, or they. You know what I mean? And even if the Green Party's a little more radical,
if you don't like what they believe in, you're a racist, or you're a bigot, or you're an imbecile.
Essentially,
that's the thing. They couldn't fathom that you think a different way and believe a different thing because of X, Y, and Z. They don't think that anyone who doesn't think like them has a principled belief as to why.
Right. It's always bad faith.
The reason is
malice.
Bad faith. Exactly. It's racism. It's sexism. It's keeping the patriarchy alive. There's no other reason that you wouldn't, other than you're a bigot. And they can't. They'd rather call half the country racist than to think that they might be thinking for themselves.
I know there are centrist Democrats out there, and they need to get a hold of their party again, man, because
the silent majority is just the people in the middle that just are every election have to go, these are the options.
I know.
Well,
I know. We couldn't get.
We just happened to pull the lever for Donald Trump last time.
We couldn't find anyone better than Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. No one.
I mean, dude, it's just such a scourge in politics. What's that guy's name that just got Representative Chris Collins accused of insider trading? Says he'll stay on ballot for re-election. Come on,
I know.
and he'll get voted in. He'll get voted in again. You know,
what about
Senator Bob Menendez from New Jersey can be brought on corruption charges. Can't really do his job for a whole year because he's getting tried. You know, for a range of things. Gets a hung jury. You know, I'm just back as a senator. I'll get reelected again.
Well, that's New Jersey politics. Well, that's Hudson County. But Orrin Hatch, you know, grifting $120 million off clients.
Wrong.
Apparently.
Person.
What?
Orrin Hatch is a senator from Utah.
Yeah, I know.
No, the Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross.
Oh, Wilbur Ross. I'm sorry. Wilbur Ross. Sorry.
Orrin Hatch has a great Twitter account.
I was going to say, Orrin Hatch is an old, he's an old conservative, right? He's like I thought he was like a Reagan guy. Aren't they all Reagan guys?
He's friggin' 84 years old. He's been there since like
he's a Nixon guy
60s, dude.
He's a Nixon Republican.
He's one of those people that need to
He's one of those people that need to retire is what he needs. He needs to fucking retire.
Our Congress, I mean, we've talked about this. They're just geriatric at this point. Like, okay, all right. You know what I just thought of, Matt? Did you hear about Senator Feinstein, California?
No, what happened?
Dianne Feinstein. Her.
How old is she? How old is Dianne Feinstein?
She's 80. I bet she's 82. Look
Jesus.
Look it up. While I say this, Dianne Feinstein just came out, but you probably didn't see it because the mainstream media decided they didn't need to cover it. You know, it hit a couple of sites.
Yeah.
I saw it because I'm tuned in to
this is pretty crazy,
alternative media. Okay. Her driver, her personal driver, since she's been a senator, which has been for more than 20 years, okay, has been the whole time a Chinese spy.
It is like a movie.
Her personal driver. It is. It's like a movie. You couldn't script this. Dianne Feinstein, a ranking member on the
She's 85, by the way.
85. See, I told you, dude. I told you.
Why is this 85-year-old woman
trying to tell me what to do? That 85-year-old woman's going to tell me what to say. Her and Chris Murphy are going to write a law saying that I can't come on here and spout conspiracy theories like Alex Jones.
Dude, she was born in 1933. Why is a lady born in 1933 telling me what to do? Does she even know what Twitter is? Does she know you work her computers?
Well, it was so funny when Mark Zuckerberg went on Capitol Hill. You know, these people can't even log into their Gmail accounts, and they're asking him deep technical questions about
Facebook. How do I mail a Facebook? You're like, Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Mr. Zuckerberg, I'll let you go if you can get my grandson to like my pictures.
Yeah, seriously, though.
But anyway, you know, you didn't hear about it.
Chinese spy?
Okay. Dianne Feinstein is one of the biggest senators of the left.
Yeah,
I can't even think of a comparable.
Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters.
That would be like John McCain's personal driver.
No, it really would.
It would be. You know, they're the biggest two. John McCain's personal driver for 20 years was a Chinese spy. Would that not be plastered all over?
Was a Russian spy.
Wouldn't they have no, I'm pretty sure it's Chinese.
No, I'm saying for the Republicans because they're tied with the Russians.
Sure, either one, honestly. Wouldn't they have that on 60 Minutes? They'd have a whole story about how did you not know and why? You know,
Frontline investigates.
It would be everywhere, and it would be. But it's Dianne Feinstein, so it didn't get a second in NBC. I checked. I actually looked because after I saw the story, I went to ABC, NBC, and CBS, and I scrolled their feeds. Didn't see it. They don't cover it. They hide it. It's now gone. It was a week and a half ago. Gone. No one's going to know that because don't you know Donald Trump's a traitor for Russia. We got to get back on that story. That's the real fact.
Yeah.
So you're getting lied to left and right, whether it's by Alex Jones or the mainstream media. Really, there's no difference at this. I
We're
won't
not saying
apologize for that either.
it's fine. Hey, we're not saying you have to listen to Alex Jones, but you can't.
We're
You
saying
can't
don't
just
listen
listen
to
to
mainstream
mainstream
media.
media. Yeah, you got to get your sources from somewhere else. I
I mean,
mean,
that's the problem with the splintering of the media, though. That used to be there used to be 3 channels, and you used to get your news from them. There was little variation, and sure, what you were getting fed was wrong. Don't you know we got attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin? The news that you're getting was fed to you wrong, but at least it was one source. Now
yeah, we were at
you're
least.
getting fed wrong news from 50 different sources. You don't know what's real.
Well, we were at least coming to a conversation with the same set of facts.
Right.
Because now, if you want to talk, like Mila Kunis said, if you want to talk, abortion with Mila Kunis, she's never even heard your argument. She's not even sure.
That's
How do you have
crazy.
how do you have a conversation? Where do you begin if you've never even heard the other side? So
Now, is she one of those, very activist? I don't really know.
no,
Is
I
she-
mean
I don't
she's
know
in
if I've ever
Family
seen her
Guy
on
and
those-
everything, so she's all down with humor. But Seth MacFarlane, I gotta say, has become really annoying with his activism.
Well, Matt,
He's never been less funny.
Yeah, you're not wrong, dude. It's Trump's turning everyone not funny. Stephen Colbert, who I didn't think was funny before, but
I used to like Stephen Colbert. I really did.
nah, I didn't. Well, the Jonah Goldberg thing, right? So I don't know what Jonah Goldberg was specifically talking about. Oh, Jonah Goldberg said that Rudy Giuliani, he was on Fox News, and he said Rudy Giuliani must be just sitting around somewhere with white knuckles, chain smoking cigarettes, waiting for Trump to tweet so he can defend it. Made an offhand comment. Rudy Giuliani tweeted that some moron on Fox News just said that I'm sitting around smoking cigarettes. He's like, I don't smoke cigarettes. He let out this really dumb tweet. So of course,
I
Colbert's
hate
gonna
Rudy
hit him on
Giuliani.
it. Yeah, I mean,
He's such a blowhard.
it's just dude, it's just amazing what Trump is turning everyone into. He's just exposing the left. He's turning these people that were Republicans just into these absolute hacks like Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee used to be a governor, and now he's just this shill every night on Fox. But Colbert's trying to hit Trump, and he doesn't even fact check. He's like, and Jonah Goldberg from National Review, a total Trump lackey. He said that Jonah Goldberg's totally for Trump when it's Jonah Goldberg was a never Trumper. He's vehemently against him on most
He didn't even
issues.
look it up. Yeah, he didn't even look it up.
He doesn't even know, and he talks about politics every night on his show. If you talk about politics every night on your show and you don't know Jonah Goldberg, first off, haven't heard of him. You're not paying that close attention. And second off, if you don't know that he isn't Trump, you're really doesn't like Trump,
Then
you're
not
really
paying,
not paying attention.
Well, and there's the thing.
At
And if
all.
you're not paying attention, then do you really care? No, you don't. So, it's nice to have the TV show, but if you can't even get the small facts like that right, then you don't care that much. You're just
I don't
virtue
think most
signaling.
people care.
No.
I really don't think most people care. They just it's a way to signal their virtue. It's a way to be a part of a team. It's something to be opposed, which without you having to define yourself defines you.
Sure.
You don't have to understand what you believe. You're just against.
Yeah. Well, and also, it's sad for you, because I know you feel this way too. It's sad for people like us, and there are so many people out there. If anyone's listening to this far, they're certainly part of that crew, which is, I just like talking about the philosophy and the politics, and I'm not really trying to win or score points. I'm just like, hey, let's talk about it. It's interesting. Right?
I'm trying to dig in, trying to find the truth.
I'm trying to find
figure
the
out
truth
more
and
closely what I believe.
It's fun, but the people like you're talking about, where they're just opposed and it's vitriolic,
It's sport.
I'm not into that. I'm not really into that. So that's why I would not like to be segregated on social media, because I like talking to people on the left and the right. I think they both have something interesting to at least put into the conversation, inject into a conversation.
Well, I think those days are coming to an end.
Yeah, which is, well, it's also really sad because I don't know if this is just social media, but I do find myself sometimes not censoring myself, but sort of, you have to test the waters whenever you start to talk politics nowadays. You kind of have to, because I'm not a Trump guy, but I'm left of Bob Dole, so therefore I'm basically Joseph Goebbels in some people's minds, right? I'm sorry, I'm right of Bob Dole, so I'm basically Joseph Goebbels in some people's minds. So you have to sort of be like, well, I don't hate Trump. I don't think he's a Nazi, but I disagree with this part, or I'm okay with borders, or
Well, it depends where you're
I
having
don't know.
these and with who.
It's more
So,
fun having with you and me, where we can just spit the shit, shoot the
well, I
shit,
don't I
and
don't
don't care.
attribute bad motivation when I know there is none there.
And we have friends like who are that on the left who just like who we can just like say something to, and I'll say it just because I give them a dig. But it's not mean spirited. It's all in good fun. No one's actually hurt by it.
I mean, my roommate from college was a total liberal, total Bernie Sanders guys. It was right during the primaries for Ted Cruz at that point. And oh man, it would get heated. And then as soon as the discussion's over, it's like, so you want to go get something to eat, or well, what do you?
Yeah,
We'd be screaming at each other about the issue. It's not personal. It's just, well, I'm a loud person, and he was too. So I mean, that's just how we talk. But there was no malice attributed to one another, and that's the problem now. If you don't hold your beliefs that I have, particularly of the left, if you don't hold my leftist beliefs, then you're a bad person.
Yeah,
which is what we need to get away from.
The people on the left that are not like that, they're out there. They need to reclaim the conversation. They really.
Well, they're trying to. Brett Weinstein, trying. Sam Harris, both Weinstein brothers. I mean, they're trying to. I don't think they're making a dent. I think the party's moving radically left by the day. The party is now fully Bernie's, Ocasio-Cortez, socialism.
Yeah, Cynthia Nixon. Cynthia Nixon. The least famous. The least popular one from Sex and the City. She's running in the New York mayoral race as a Democratic Socialist because it's fashion. It's like the new Gucci bag.
Yeah.
To some of these people, politics is fashion, and they just got to figure out. Well, Bernie was like so last November, and now it's like all eggs are on Andrea Cortez. She's so vintage right now. You know what I mean? It's like that Valley Girl attitude where. You have to figure out who's Kim K supporting. Who are the celebrities supporting? Yeah, that kind of stinks. I hope they reclaim the conversation, and certainly, me and you will still keep talking. I'm not letting them shut us up. So,
no, we'll keep talking,
I'll keep complaining.
Some of those, if you want to see some of those both perspectives, you can. Time to wrap it up, I guess. Follow us on Twitter.
Well, actually, I do want to talk one thing that I think
one
of.
More thing?
Yeah. Well, because this is important, and I know that I complain a lot on Twitter. At least I feel like I do about Yemen and the Yemen war and all these wars that where poor people and people who emaciated children are just being killed, and the mainstream media doesn't cover it because Scott and Horton had a great quote when he was in that interview with Dave Smith. From just this week, where it's like we're all mad at some woman at the New York Times for saying #cancel all white people. Meanwhile, kids are having a forced blockade and having barrel bombs dropped on them. So let's keep in mind here how bad things can get and what's really important. And I really admire that about Scott. But it just came out, the AP, so this is a very reputable source, the Associated Press, that the coalition in Yemen, which the United States supports, and that's basically like the Gulf Coalition Council, which is like Saudi Arabia, was Qatar, not anymore, after their diplomatic rift last year, I believe,
right?
Where they had they held the whole blockade because Qatar was semi-friends with Iran. Basically, the Middle East, what's going on right now? If quick history, it's basically a cold war between the Sunnis, Saudi Arabia, and the Shia Iran. And they're vying for influence in all of these destabilized countries by shifting money, shifting weapons, trying to gain political influence in Iraq, in Syria, in Yemen, in Libya, all these places. And in Yemen in particular, Iran has been running guns and supplies to a rebel group run by the Houthi brothers. They're called the Houthis now. They're the North Shia tribe. They were essentially an imamate for hundreds of years until they got wrapped into the government. They protested due to they had real grievances of low unemployment or high unemployment, high youth bulge, failing economy, and the country descended into civil war. Al Qaeda is there. AQAP, they are part of the group that launched the attacks.
Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula.
Correct. They are part of the group that attacked the Twin Towers on 9/11. the AQAP, right? They sheltered. Osama bin Laden is from Yemen. He's from these areas, right? They have the jihadists.
Saudi Arabia, no?
No, he hid in Saudi Arabia. His family, the Bin Ladens, are from Yemen, and
You sure?
yeah, that's like where their tribe is originally from. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I mean maybe double check me on that, but that's what I did my report on in college, so I'm pretty sure. But
Keep going.
but anyway, the jihadists, the AQAP, essentially control all of East Yemen, while the Houthis and this coalition are fighting over the north and south and the capital, Sana'a. To fight the Houthis and to fight Iranian influence, the United States, along with Saudi Arabia and this coalition, blockaded the country, which slowed supplies of food and medicine, which, if you look up the pictures, that's where you're seeing all these emaciated children in hospitals that aren't well supplied, rooms barrel bombed, and they're just dying. And so I really do think it's a crime against humanity that the United States is doing this. I mean, and this is why no one's talking about it. It's despicable. It's disgusting. And part of this coalition, it turns out the AP reported, which is what I wanted to get to, it turns out that we're paying Al-Qaeda members to leave key cities. It turns out that the coalition is giving Al-Qaeda members and letting them, guns, cash in hand.
They're giving them cash and letting them take their guns to get out of cities.
To let them get out of their key cities, and they're just letting them go. And to make matters worse, the coalition has actually brought on hundreds of fighters to fight against the Houthis. So, the United States is essentially backing, if that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, we're giving money and supplies. We're essentially backing a group which is tangentially recruiting the guys who committed 9/11. And this is why I'm anti-war, because that does not make sense. That is not peace. This game, this fucking chess game of Saudi Arabia and Iran, this is not going to get world peace. This is a whole different thing, this geopolitics thing. And, people don't want to talk about it, and it's just going under the radar. It's such a sad thing, and it's disgraceful.
They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to learn the names. They don't want to learn the places. It's too much. It's just there's things going on over there. Man, people can't even get their own lives focused. They're not going to figure out what's going on.
It's so
Yemen.
disheartening because this week, Barack Obama receives the RFK Award for Human Rights. Barack Obama helped blockade this poor Yemen. Barack Obama trained and gave weapons to Al-Qaeda in Syria.
Yeah, Mr. John Brennan. Who's the traitor? Who's the traitor? Al-Qaeda kills 3,000 Americans 9/11.
We give them guns, okay?
And 14 years later, John Brennan, head of the CIA, is arming them because at the moment they're slightly less radical than the other radical popped up over here, and we're just playing whack-a-mole, handing out guns and money to people who hate us. It's essentially our strategy.
No, that's literally the strategy. Make it unlivable. Make it impossible for peace to occur. So John Brennan, the king of the drone program, Trump's a traitor because he had a nice conversation with Putin, but John Brennan gets to kill as many brown people as he wants, and he's supposed to be he's going to go down the history books as some great CIA director. Give me a break. Fuck John Brennan too. I'll say that. Max Boot and John Brennan, you're enemies of the United States. I think that's a good place to end it.
All right, right there, yeah.
Those treasonous scumbags. No. Okay, I'll that little last part was just an extra jab, but I think we should end it there. That's fine. Anything else you want to say, Bob? I just had to get that off my chest because that stuff pisses me off.
That's fine. I'm with you. Listen to that Scott Horton podcast with Dave Smith. If you hear anything we said that was a little bullshit, look it up yourself. Find us on Twitter. Shoot me a DM and let me know.
Yeah, let me know.
Bobby J Politics.
Let's get into an argument. I could use a good argument.
Come find us.
Nothing personal. Right. Nothing personal.
Follow Matt at Planet Politico.
Hit me up.
Where else are we, Matt? We're on
iTunes, Google, and YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get the subscribers
up.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week. Peace.